So it's Saturday, April 6th, Grand Rapids. Today's gonna be the first day that we open these colonies and probably give them some room based on what we're seeing right now. The last time we checked, we were 100%. They all look like they're flying. So still think we're at 100, but we'll be able to confirm that today. Lots of pollen coming in. This is just a stack of old boxes that we put here when we started pull honey. But lots of bees. They all look great, at least from the outside. We'll see what they look like on the inside. Even got some pollen going into the 5 framers. So all those look alive. This is the one that we didn't know if they would survive or not. So there's bees going in and out, but they could be robbers. We'll have to confirm that they are alive. I'd be shocked, but stay tuned and we'll find out. I'll just take some videos and splice them together today as we go through them to see what we're seeing. But getting excited. 2024 bee season is on. All right, it's 2024. This will be the first one we pop. This is my black queen. She's one of my favorites just because of her color. We haven't done any Harbo essays on her quite yet, but let's see what she looks like. Can you see, Meg? So for us today, we try to get through as many as we can. We're just going to be leaning these boxes forward and see what we see, and then use that information to make a decision. The box is still heavy with honey in our cluster. It's a good box of bees. They have ample resources. Once again, we did not feed anybody sugar or anything in the fall or throughout the winter. And this is what we ended up with. And this box is still really heavy, so they had lots of resources. But we can smoke them a little bit and see if there's any drone brood. But they're exactly what we would like to see at this point. So what we'll probably do, since my friend Mike Connor told me that there's going to be a lot of nectar flowing this coming week, we will probably put a super on them to give them some space, because as I said, this box is really heavy, so I don't expect them to have a lot of space to store that incoming nectar. And it's important to give them space or they will get swarmy. So we'll give them some space for them to grow into. We'll come back in a couple weeks when we see drones, because we don't see drones right now, at least in the Burke home. I don't see drones running around. And so we'll give them a couple weeks before we come back to take a look and decide if we're going to start making splits then. But this is what we would expect to see and what we would like to see at this point in time. I do, after I say that, I do see there is one drone cell right here. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but if you come around there, you can see there's a bunch of cat brood. And all this is still honey, you can see on that frame. And I can tell by the weight that there's still a lot of honey in here. But that's what 2024 is looking like so far in Grand Rapids. And so we gotta get through all the colonies today. Give them some space. Alright, so this is the smallest colony we sent into winter. I did a terrible job of recording any information, other than on July 7th, we put a Harbo virgin in there. And at that time, it was like a frame of bees. And so she went out, she got mated, which would have put her laying around the end of July. And anyway, long story short, when we sent her into winter, there was only 2 or 3 frames of bees in the bottom box. We added some honey in this top box to see if they would get it through. They had no brood at that time. The queen had already shut down. I bummed that I didn't write the date of that down. But we didn't think they would survive. They didn't have any brood, and they were only 2 to 3 frames of bees, so that was it. That's what they were going into winter with. So we're gonna see if they're still alive. There's activity in the front, but it could be robbers. but we're about to find out. Here we go. I'm assuming they're gonna be really light. I can tell just based on how she was able to open it so easily with her hive tool. And let's see. They could be alive with down to a frame of bees. I don't think those are robbers, but they are very, very small. But they did survive. So we'll probably have to boost them and cut back some of these other colonies, but it's impressive that they made it. You can see all those frames right there are empty, and they might be on their last reserve. So we'll see what we can do for them. Alright, so we decided that we're going to pull this frame. We pulled the outside frame. They have plenty of honey. So they're good there, even though they're light, just because it's a 5 frame. But I do want to just make sure that they're queen ripe and that there is some brood and they're trending in the right direction before I drop resources from another colony into them. So we're going to take a look and see what we find. They're now down to a frame and a half of bees. The fact that they're alive at all is just amazing. No insulation other than the top. No food. They're subject to the wind. And to take a look, there's the queen. She's got the pink dot indicating it's a Harbo virgin, or was a Harbo virgin. And they do have brood going. So they're trying to rebound. And I don't know if there's brood on the other frame, but let's take a look. There's no brood on the back side of this one. So they could definitely benefit from a frame of brood from somebody else. This one is super light. And there is no brood and no eggs on this side. So she's only laying on that one face of the comb. That's probably that's all they can do to keep that warm right now. But they made it. So if they made it, I have faith that everybody else made it. Very cool. Alright, so we're going through the 5 framers. The other previous 2 5 framers have not needed to be moved, but this 5/5 is booming, and so we're moving them. Well, Megan's gonna move them into a single deep, and then we are gonna put another box on top of them. So we'll kind of document that as she goes through that process. What we're gonna do, since most of the brood's gonna be in this top box, we'll put that in the middle in this 10 framer, and then we'll put the other box on the outside. But decent set of bees there. I'll let Megan tell us what she sees.
Got eggs and larvae going in there and lots of capped honey on the outside.
Okay.
Just some brood up there.
So brood on the outside frames in the top box.
And then this is one of the wonky ones that's bent on the back, so not a lot.
Yeah, so those junk frames. But we'll have to deal with that later. But this was a Harbo virgin on 7/29, and so this one had more bees and resources than that one, and that just shows you how if they have the appropriate amount of bees, critical mass of bees, that they grow exponentially. They don't struggle. But you can see there's some capped brood underneath them bees. It's a Harbo virgin, so she should be a pink dot once we find her. Yeah, they're
doing great.
They're doing really good. Can you see in this area what's in there? Young larva. Has she come back and filled in those spaces?
Hasn't filled in those ones yet, no.
Okay, so that frame's emerging and she hasn't come back yet. So for those of you wondering, the temperature, it's probably around I don't know.
Probably close to 50.
I'd say
Not
probably
quite.
52. We can take a look after this and get you that information. But everyone's flying, so as long as you're getting in and getting out, they have a lot of mass. There she is. She's actually a red dot queen. Interesting. I don't know, maybe we didn't have our pink marker that day, or maybe I'll have to check the data, but
She looks good.
she looks beautiful. Except for the red dot come off a little bit. But doing a fantastic job. So we're just gonna get those moved over. Like I said, we're gonna take these 5 frames, do what Megan's doing, center them here. Take the bottom 5 frames in this box, which they were occupying, and put those on the outside, and then put another box above them for them to move up. But that's what we're doing. All right, that's it for this clip. So this is that 5/5 that we just moved out, but I do want to point out one thing. So we don't have any upper entrances on any of our colonies. No feeding shim except for one of them way down there. But anyway, so we use the condensation hive setup. So you can see this is soaking wet. Like, I wish you could see it, feel it, but it's really wet. It's wet and heavy. And look at that. That's wet and heavy. And you can see where it's dry. It's dry in the front where there's air movement. But the point here is that you can have moisture, you can have condensation, you can have water in your colonies. And it won't kill them. It's beneficial. They can drink that water up. It's not what a lot of people are telling you, that if you have moisture and condensation in your colonies are going to die. You just saw that 5/5 frame. Colony is doing fantastic, despite all that water right there. I mean, you can see it's pooled in that corner. So they went that way through the whole winter and they were fine. Condensation is not why your bees died. All right, so we just got to this colony, and here we can see that there are, here, look, right here he is. There's a drone walking around. You can also, get my hand out of the way, see that there's drone brood on the 4th frame. And you can see, if you look down the gap, that there's a bunch of capped drone brood. So this colony is a little bit further ahead. This is one of our this was our breeder queen for 2 years. From our stock. So this is one of the queens that we liked a lot. One of her daughters from number 9 is what we call her. Here's another drone right here peeking his head out. But so these guys are a little bit further ahead so far than the other colonies that we've gone through. So to buy some more time, we're gonna give them another box to move up into. And then just to point out, once again, these colonies have not been fed anything in the fall, anything in the spring, and they still have plenty of honey up top. It's still pretty heavy. I can lift it, but it's still got some weight to it. So far so good, no dead outs. And the big colonies, or previously starred colonies, are doing great. So that's where we're at so far. We have done 1 row behind. We got all this to go still, plus 3 other yards. So until the next clip, that's it for this one. So we're moving another 5/5. And that's one of the queens. She's doing really good. So Megan's moving her into the single out of the 5/5. Giving her room. She's got all those frames in the top box laid up. Alright, so we have gone through 1, 2 rows, all the way down this row, so 3 rows. And this is one of our F1s from Corey Stevens, so we're just going to look and see what Corey's bees look like here in Michigan. Once again, these bees didn't get any food, overwintered, no wrap, no insulation, just the insulation on top, and no upper entrance. So let's see what we got. So you can tell that this triple is still very full of honey, but look at all those bees. That might be a problem. There's drone brood everywhere, and we do got some queen cups, but they seem to be quite further ahead than the genetics that we have here in our line of bees. So we are going to set this one aside and we'll see how far this extends down. Alright, taking a look at this next box. So I don't see a bunch of drones walking around. If you come back over here, Meg, you can see that the drones that we opened up are purple-eyed. And there is some drones walking around. Here's a drone, here's the purple eye. Here's another drone peeking his head up. So it looks like they're just ramping up. Let's see what's in this last box. I'm hoping nothing. And I can just add it to the top and reverse it. But it looks like they're also occupying that third box with a buttload of drone brood. So we're gonna have to think about this one, but as you can probably tell, Corey's bees are doing just fine here in Michigan without any additional feed, although we did overwinter them in 3 deeps. But we generally do that with queens that we are potentially going to breed from, just to make sure there's a lot of room, because this is what tends to happen with those bees. Alright, that's it for that clip.
Go.
Alright, so we're back in this first row. We've come across our first issue. So this colony, if you take a look, they have all the bees in here. There's a double deep, overwintered. They still have all these bees. I don't know, can you see how many bees are in there in the bottom? But they are queenless. They've been queenless probably for all winter. I'm assuming it's when we did a mite treatment in the fall, or when we did our oxalic acid during the winter, something happened and we killed the queen. But I wanted you to see that they can still overwinter. They're plenty strong. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know, 9, 10 bees, frames of bees, and a double deep without a queen. So you can overwinter colonies that are in fact queenless. We just don't know when the queen disappeared. There is no brood, no evidence of brood. There is no laying workers, but that's the state of this colony. So the questions that we were deciding is, what do we do? We thought about moving that little tiny nuke that had just 1 frame of bees and trying to requeen this big stack, but we decided we would feel really bad if she made it this far and then the merger did not go well and they killed her. So instead we're just going to use these boxes and this drawn comb and merge them with some of colonies like this, our triples that need more room, and utilize the comb in that way. But so far we've went through all of them. This is our first queenless issue. Alright, so we're just gonna, this is our last colony, but it's been a long day, we don't remember if we've shown this or not, so we're gonna do it again. So all we are is splitting these 2 boxes and taking a look up and down the 2 boxes. So if Megan comes back around here, jeepers, maybe, of course this one's gonna be a problem. This one's got frames that are actually stuck. So they were actually, the frames were stuck together when this happened. So we'll lean it forward. We'll take a look. And so that's a big box of bees. So they need room. So we'll show what we're gonna do, I guess, with that in just a second. So hit pause. Alright, so this is what we're gonna do. This is the colony that we just were in. It was full. So then we got a deep box set up here, If you take a look, these 4 frames are all drawn comb. These 3 and these 3 are foundation. The reason why there's bees on this is because it came from that queenless colony that we talked about earlier in this video, hopefully. And so they still had bees on it. We're going to just add this box right to the top here. You could newspaper it, but if you look at this box of bees, there's so many bees there that I have faith they will be able to protect their queen, and it should not be an issue. Because they're so full, we are not adding an excluder, which will allow the bees to move up quicker than if there was an excluder, and give them that sense of space to hopefully keep them in the box for a couple more weeks. Obviously the downside of that is now we're gonna have to go through 3 boxes to find the queen when we make our splits. But that's what we did to all the colonies. Up until this point, we do have to go back and add a couple boxes. We ran out of boxes to some of those colonies in the back. But that's all we did today. Basically just trying to add more space to get them through another 2 weeks so we can get split in. All right, the conclusion of all this. It's now 4:09, and as you can tell based off this video and the one that was in the beginning, there was a colony right there. So that was the one that was still alive but was queenless, so really no good to us. So we took the comb from there and we redistributed the comb, and as you can see, almost everybody got an extra deep box today. And we put we started out putting 4 combs and 6 foundation, but some of them only got 2 comb and 8 foundation, and then some of them ended up with 10 foundation. I can see this lid isn't on right, but basically we're trying to get a couple more weeks out of these colonies without having to split them. So we do have drones in the colonies. I'd like to see drones flying before we start splitting and rearing queens. We want to make sure our queens are very well mated and as high quality as possible. We also don't want these colonies to swarm. So it's definitely a balancing game, balancing act here. You can see this 5/5 wasn't big enough to move into a single, and that's that little guy that should not be alive but is, with 1 frame of bees. So we're gonna see what they do, but feel pretty good. Obviously the overwinter success is great. Feel great about that. I'm a little nervous about early swarming and us losing some of these queens, but we'll be back in like a week or 2 and gauge how they're doing. Hopefully they move up, hopefully they have the sense of space and start drawing out comb, and then we can start doing splits in 2 weeks. But that's it. Sorry for the bunch of videos merged together, but I just don't have the time or the patience to do a bunch of fancy editing. So this is what you get. If you have questions, let us know, and we'll be making videos as we continue this journey. Good luck, everybody. Thanks for watching.